Tonight, Israel strikes Houthi targets in Yemen. While in Washington, a new push to get tough on Iran as fears grow over its nuclear program. Plus, public threats, private panic. China says it won't bow to Trump's tariff war, but some experts say Beijing is already caving. A legal fight over abortion pills takes a new turn. The Trump administration moves to shut down a GOP-led lawsuit, fueling new tensions in post-Roe America. Bibles in their hands, targets on their back.
I came to Ukraine and saw what's going on here. This is good versus evil.
Russia hunting down Christians in Ukraine. A frontline look at a faith under siege. And the borders closed and the road home is dangerous. Migrants who risked everything to get here now risk even more to get back. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation. A major shift in America's fight against the Iranian-backed Houthis. Good evening in Washington, I'm Jenna Browder. After a nearly 2-month bombing campaign, today President Trump announced the U.S. will stop airstrikes against Yemen's Houthi group. This comes as Israel increases its attacks on the rebel group in retaliation for targeting Ben Gurion Airport over the weekend. Trump's decision could also help with his goal in negotiating with Iran over its nuclear program. Capitol Hill correspondent Michelle London has our top story. London?
It has been a major shift, Jenna. U.S. Central Command says it struck at least 800 targets during its campaign to protect shipping off the coast of Yemen. During an Oval Office meeting with Canada's new Prime Minister, President Trump told his reporters the Iranian-backed Houthis reached out directly to the administration.
The Houthis have announced that they are not, or they've announced to us at least, that they don't want to fight anymore. They just don't want to fight. And we will honor that, and we will stop the bombings.
Meanwhile, fighting has intensified between Israel and the rebel group. Today, the IDF released this footage showing a second round of missile launches and airstrikes in Yemen. Israel says it has disabled Yemen's main airport in the attack. Yemen also released this footage showing what they claim is damage to the capital city of Sinai on Sunday following a U.S. airstrike. The retaliation comes after the rebels launched a missile that hit close to Israel's main airport in Tel Aviv. Iran's foreign ministry spokesman stresses that the country will remain committed to nuclear talks with the U.S.
Iran is willing to build mutual trust through negotiations, and this is subject to the position and statement of the United States at the negotiating table. The threat posed by the U.S. against Iran will undoubtedly prompt the Iranian armed forces to spare no effort and stay on high alert against any aggression or adventurism.
Negotiators from U.S. and Iran are expected to meet later this week for a fourth round of nuclear talks. Meanwhile, it's Israel Advocacy Day on Capitol Hill. More than 300 rabbis and faith leaders are pushing a list of issues, including stopping Iran from nuclear capability, securing the release of hostages in Gaza, and combating anti-Semitism in the U.S. Jenna?
All right, London, thank you. Meanwhile, President Trump says China wants to negotiate tariffs and that they and the U.S. will meet at the right time. He made the comments in that same Oval Office meeting today with the Canadian Prime Minister.
Look, they're suffering greatly. Their economy is suffering greatly because they're not doing trade with the U.S. And they made most of their money off the U.S. Don't kid yourself. They don't make the money off other countries like this.
And there are reports of huge piles of containers that missed the tariff deadline still sitting in Chinese ports. Cargo bookings are down by half, and Chinese factory workers are being laid off by the tens of thousands, and fears of social unrest are starting to bubble up. Stephen Mosher joins us now. He is president of the Population Research Institute. Stephen, welcome. So China is talking tough, but you say Beijing is actually quietly retreating as fast as it can.
Well, it has to retreat. China is now increasingly in chaos. You're going to have, in the next couple of weeks, 10 million workers who've lost their jobs, who don't get severance pay. Some of them haven't been paid for months, quite frankly. And that number will increase to 20 or 30 million over the next couple of months. those people have nowhere to go but to take to the streets. That's why the Chinese Communist Party is quietly relaxing tariffs on 131 different classes of American goods. They understand that this is really for all the marbles. They will face another round of Tiananmen Square-like demonstrations if this continues for very long. You remember Tiananmen Square, June 4th, 1989. Millions of people in the major cities of China, including the capital of Beijing, taking to the streets, demanding an end to communism. And they were met with deadly force. 10,000 were killed in the capital on June 4th, 1989. China's leaders are very afraid that those sorts of demonstrations will break out again. There's increasing unrest in China's cities. And, you know, it's not just the factories that produce goods that sell to Americans that are shutting down. It's the tea rooms, the stores all around those factories that are shutting down as well. So the ripple effects through the Chinese economy, which is already in very bad shape, are going to be tremendous. I think that China is facing economic collapse. I think that China is desperate to do something, and I will say that all Americans should be angry at Beijing's latest offer. Beijing's latest offer is it will stop the flow of fentanyl to the United States if Trump lowers the tariffs. Now, remember, for years, the Chinese Communist Party has said, we have nothing to do with fentanyl that's killing almost 100,000 Americans every year. Now they have formally offered to stop the flow of fentanyl, to stop killing Americans if we lower the tariffs. So I would say keep the tariffs in place. Let's buy goods made in India or Mexico or the United States, and reshore our supply lines here to our own country.
Yeah. Stephen, you write about some of the anti-American rhetoric that they're actually teaching children in Chinese schools, chants that they're having to do, basically to hate the United States. And then, you know, there are reports that all of these negotiations and these talks with the U.S. are very hush-hush because, well, maybe you could answer that. Why are they so hush-hush?
Well, the Chinese Communist Party is being two-faced about this. First of all, they're telling the Chinese people that it's all America's fault, glossing over the fact that for the last 25 years, they've been cheating on trade, and we're just trying to have fair trade with China. So they've got school kids in China shouting anti-American slogans, teachers leading children chanting, China must win the U.S.-China trade war. And quietly, of course, they are talking to us. We always talk to China. We're talking to China all the time. Just last week, there was a delegation that went into the U.S. Commerce Department, U.S. Treasury Department at 7 a.m. in the morning, I think, hoping to avoid the cameras, being led by senior officials from China. What were they talking about? They're talking about trade. So China wants to end this. I think it's in our interest to understand one thing, that China wants to dominate the 21st century. And for the sake of the freedoms of the Chinese people and the American people, the Chinese Communist Party must not be allowed to dominate this century or any other century.
Okay. Stephen Mosher, president of the Population Research Institute. Great to have you on this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, in other news, a legal showdown over abortion pills. The Trump administration is moving to block a lawsuit filed by states looking to limit access to mifepristone, used in over 60% of U.S. abortions. Idaho, Missouri, and Kansas filed the case in Texas, challenging the FDA's moves to expand access. The Justice Department argues the suit should be dismissed because these states lack standing to bring the case before a court in Texas. The Biden administration made the same argument in defense of the abortion pill. And the Supreme Court has sided with the Trump administration, allowing a ban on transgender military members while additional legal challenges proceed. The ban flowed from an executive order that said the sexual identity of trans service members conflicted with a soldier's commitment to an honorable, truthful, and disciplined lifestyle and is harmful to military readiness. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth issued a policy that gives the military 30 days to figure out how they will seek out and identify trans service members and remove them from the force. Coming up, tortured, hunted, and still standing. The untold story of Ukraine's evangelical Christians on the front lines of Russia's bloody war.
I've been a United States Marine, a police officer for 15 years, been on Special Forces Green Beret. I never met fear until I came to Ukraine.
Many evangelical churches absolutely destroyed.
The devil knew exactly how to attack.
Once I came to Ukraine and saw what's going on here, this is good versus evil.
And those were scenes from a new documentary called A Faith Under Siege, Russia's Hidden War on Ukraine's Christians. And here now in studio are the film's executive producers, Stephen Moore and Colby Barrett. Gentlemen, great to have you with us. Congratulations on this new film.
Oh, thanks. It's great to be with you.
So Russia says that it will have a ceasefire from May 8th to May 10th. Given your experience, and Stephen, I know you live in Ukraine, and your experience in making this film, do you trust Russia to make good on that? Can Russia be trusted?
You know, I think if you look at Vladimir Putin, there's folks that are trying to tell us that Putin is a man of faith, that he's a defender of Christendom. But I think when you look at his actions on Palm Sunday, you know, they bombed cities in Ukraine. They killed 35 Ukrainians, including 2 children, many of whom were on their way to church. So we have not seen Putin uphold a ceasefire at any time in this war, including, you know, the last few months with President Trump. And President Trump, I think, has been very patient with Putin and has been really giving him a lot of leeway and trying to work with him. But there's carrots and sticks in negotiations, and Putin's not really receiving the carrots very well because he keeps violating these ceasefires.
Yeah, and you know, they left the door open to say if Ukraine doesn't provoke us, we won't provoke. But you know, they can come up with all sorts of stuff to say that Ukraine attacked them. Colby, I understand you actually don't have a background in film. How did this documentary come about?
Yeah, no background. This is our first documentary. This summer, a friend asked me whether I wanted to go on an aid convoy to Ukraine. I'm a farmer and I run a business. It was a very busy time, right in the middle of harvest. So I told him no. I started actually looking into what was happening in Ukraine, specifically to evangelical Christians, and it absolutely blew my mind. I knew that I was called to go over there, and I knew I was called to tell this story. So we put together a team and made it happen. Stephen and I traveled the entire length of the Ukrainian front lines, 1,500 miles, talked to 40 different individuals, Christians that had suffered in Russia's invasion.
How did you two get together? Because I know you live in Kyiv, you live in Telluride, Colorado.
Right.
How did you two get hooked up?
Well, you know, I went over to Ukraine on day 5 of the war just because I wanted to help. You know, I don't like bullies. I see Putin as a bully, and so I wanted to help in Ukraine. Did the first year, I spent a lot of time at the front delivering humanitarian aid, and then God just kept bringing Christians across my path that had been tortured or had been imprisoned or had been driven from their homes by the Russians, you know, because they're Christians. So they're persecuting evangelical Christians. And it was just mind-blowing to me. So I started just telling everyone I knew. I used to work on Capitol Hill. I've testified in front of Congress, and we've been working really hard on this. Then one day, Colby just calls me out of the blue and says, hey, you know, we'd like to make a documentary film. And I'm like, yes, please come talk to my friends.
That's amazing. Yeah. So the rest was kind of history. You went over there. I guess, how did you find it sounds like you had some history with these people who had been Christians who had been persecuted, but how did you choose who to showcase, the stories to feature? I mean, I know you probably had a ton of footage.
Unfortunately, the stories of persecution of believers over there are all too common. But when we started making the film, we really wanted to put a good team together. We had a great film crew in Ukraine, a great post-production crew in New York City, and then we met Stephen, and he had developed relationships with these folks and was able to make those introductions. So that was really what we wanted to do, is tell all aspects of that story. So we met fathers that had lost their entire families to Iranian drones that had been shot by Russia. We met pastors that had been tortured, people that have lost family members, and just innumerable stories that are just horrific.
What if you had to just pick maybe 1 or 2 things, what's the biggest takeaway from this whole process? Maybe to you first, Stephen, and then to you, Colby?
Well, I got to tell you that these people in Ukraine, their faith is so amazing. You know, it's just really helped develop my faith. And the hand of God has shown itself in the making of this film. I mean, there's a couple of times that we shouldn't be here talking to you now because we narrowly avoided missiles or drones. And, you know, and the hand of God just put us in the right direction and introduced us to the right people. And it's just been a breathtaking thing for me to be a part of.
Yeah. Yeah, Colby, what about you?
I would echo the thing I didn't expect was how much of an impact this was going to be on my faith. Obviously, I felt I was following the Holy Spirit, but being over there, if you look as Christians, our foundational document is the New Testament, which is a story about a small persecuted minority being essentially hunted by a much bigger empire. That's exactly what's happening over there now. And the Christians that you've met, or that we met, they're behaving the same way as the first century Christians. They show up with persistence and resolve and love and service to their community. Yeah. I didn't expect how impactful it would be for my own faith. Just being over there and being amongst these folks. They are all-star Christians. So.
Well, I can't wait to watch the documentary. Colby, Stephen, thank you so much for this project and the work that it's taken to get to this point, so thank you.
Thank you, Jenna.
Thanks for having us on.
And again, the documentary is A Faith Under Siege. You can watch it this Saturday on the CBN News Channel at 8 and 11 p.m. Eastern. To find the CBN News Channel in your area, visit watchcbnnews.com. Up next, they risked everything to come to America, but with nowhere to go, these migrants are headed home. Their dangerous journey ahead. That's next on Faith Nation. Welcome back. President Trump is taking a new approach to his goal of deporting millions of illegal immigrants. The administration offering an incentive of $1,000 and a plane ticket to anyone who chooses to leave on their own, as well as the possibility to return to the U.S. legally. The plan is cost-effective, much lower than the average $17,000 it costs to arrest, house, and send someone out of the country. Well, a growing number of migrants who once made the long journey to the U.S. are now turning around. Tougher border policies and fewer legal pathways are pushing many to give up and head back home, often through risky and expensive routes. For some, the trip home requires a dangerous journey, which they may not survive. Chuck Holton reports from Panama.
The past 4 years saw an exponential growth in the flow of irregular migration through the lawless Darien Gap. Today, those numbers have dwindled to almost nothing. There's a twist to the story, however. Closing the U.S. border made many migrants look for work elsewhere or even decide to return to their home countries.
About 100 per day, sometimes 50. It depends on the flow of people. More than 1,000 people have already passed through here in less than a month.
The Kuna people inhabit a string of islands called the San Blas right here on the Caribbean shore of Panama. And normally this spot in Carti, where I'm standing, only sees tourists that are going out there to visit those islands. But now these boats are carrying a different cargo. It's a lot more profitable, but it's also a lot more dangerous.
When we walked through the jungle, they robbed us in the Darien. From there, we made our way to Mexico.
Given that deadly trek, nobody's willing to return by that route, leaving hundreds stranded in Panama with no easy way home. Migrants who spent everything to reach the U.S. are now struggling to afford passage back by boat. Just months ago, as these same migrants headed north, they were met by a network of aid groups that provided food, water, shelter, and even money, much of it funded by U.S. taxpayers. Now, as they head back, those organizations are nowhere to be found, and many migrants have nothing left.
When Trump came in, CBP-1 was gone, and the chances of getting in became almost impossible. So we decided to turn back. Of course, there are migrants who clearly don't have enough money to travel to Colombia or Nicocli, but they get outside help. Family members in the United States, Colombia, Venezuela.
While some depend on friends and family to send them money for the trip home, the same cartels that made millions smuggling migrants north are now profiting off their return. Another problem facing the migrants here is friction with local indigenous tribes.
We're asking everyone to stay calm while we coordinate to find a way to get you all where you are going, because this route is now closed.
Most of these migrants from Venezuela have been stuck here for about 3 days because there's a disagreement between the different factions of the Kuna people where they're leaving to go to Colombia. And so the immigration officials from Panama have just showed up with people from Senafront, their border police, to give a briefing to them and explain to them what is going to have to happen. And what they're saying is they're going to be taking everybody from this place and transporting them to Colón, where they'll have a much longer boat ride ahead of them. Even for those who can pay, the journey is just as dangerous. Recently, an overloaded boat capsized off Panama's coast, killing an 8-year-old Venezuelan child. Despite the risks, migrants say they have no choice.
In November, we started returning. When we saw that we were not going to be able to cross into the U.S., we decided it was better to just go back.
These Venezuelans still hope for a better life, but now they must look for it elsewhere. For many, the journey home is filled with hardship and regret as they reckon with the cost of their failed attempt. And as long as there's money to be made, there are those who will continue to exploit their desperation on both sides of the border. From Panama, I'm Chuck Holton for CBN News.
Still ahead, an innovative technique to raise a rare baby vulture. Finally tonight, a rare king vulture chick is being hand-raised in a New York City zoo thanks to a very clever method. Zookeepers at the Bronx Zoo have been using a hand puppet to care for the chick since its arrival in February. The puppet is modeled after an adult king vulture to make sure the young bird doesn't imprint on humans. The animal's care staff uses the puppet to feed the chick once a day from its cage modeled after a nest. It's a method the zoo has used before that dates back about 40 years. There's also an adult king vulture in a nearby enclosure that ensures the chick is exposed to appropriate king vulture behavior. The zoo says the chick's sex and name have yet to be determined. All right, that's going to do it for Faith Nation this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great night, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.